Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ringmasters, the show where we interview the top brass of SL Wrestling and get down to brass tacks on what it takes to play, program, and be the game. My name is DJV. I'm the founder and fed owner of Decibel Amfro Wrestling since 2022. I'm the founder of the SL Wrestling Archival and History Cataloging Project Fight Forever, and I'm curious about where we've been and excited about where we're going. With me today, we have a very cool and very, I would say, a Fed owner who has really risen above. Tell me, who am I speaking with today?
I am Jasmine Trice, and I am the president of Rise Wrestling. That is the Ring of International Stars Experience. And I am so pleased to be here with you, DJV.
Hey, we're happy to have you. I'm glad that you wanted to come onto the show.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Anytime I get to talk about Rise is a good day.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Oh, so tell me how, in terms of everything, how did you kind of get into SL wrestling?
Oh, well, that's a long story. So I will just sum it up in a few words. Football. And I know that sounds really kind of odd, but I owned a football team, and Trey Steele actually came to my football team. And long story short, I started out in VAW wrestling as a manager for Trey Steele and a couple other people, and we were VIP. And back then, we were pretty important people. Not pardon the pun, but yeah, that's how I got started. And from there, I ended up commentating, being in management, wrestling, and here I am running Rise Wrestling and having a great time every single day doing it.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. You said that you kind of got into SL wrestling through SL football, so I guess the story starts a little bit before that. When did you get into SL football, I suppose?
Actually not too much before that. It was actually my first football team that I was recruiting for, and Trey had come over with another guy and said, "Hey, we want to learn about football." We were talking, and it was maybe about not even a couple days later, we were sitting there talking on the sideline, and he's like, "Yeah, I wrestle," and I'm like, I was always wanting to learn new things, even though back then I was probably already in SL a good couple of years. And I said, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we just got talking, and I think I went over and watched a match or two, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll definitely get into this." So he said, "Yeah," and we talked about it, and he said we could use a manager. So yeah, that's how I became the manager, and pretty much that's where it all started.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. What were some similarities that you found kind of between SL football and SL wrestling in your times at the top there?
They're both really skill based. Football is, yeah, you have to learn how to catch, you have to learn how to kick, you have to learn how to block, a lot of that things. Just like in SL wrestling, you have to learn how to do rope shoots, you have to make sure you're lined up, you have to make sure you're selling, you have to make sure that when you're doing high flying moves, you're not splatting yourself on the mat, that you're actually splatting your opponent. But same thing, skill based. It's practice. You just don't walk out on the football field and catch a football and go for a touchdown. Just like you don't just walk into the ring and beat an opponent. You have to practice at it, you have to practice your skills. Same thing. That's very similar in both sports in SL.
Awesome, awesome. It's really cool to hear that there's kind of like a lot of like similarities that people don't really think about between like the various sporting communities and the like that. Uh oh,
No, I was just going to say, yeah, definitely, definitely. Anybody in any sport, really in SL, it's a craft. You have to practice no matter really what sport you're doing. You just don't go and get in the sport and be number one. You really have to practice. And anybody who's in wrestling knows, yeah, you have to practice, whether it's a match, whether it's just, honing your skills and things like that. You really do. You really have to practice. It's, you know, you have to be dedicated, really, in both sports.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I definitely agree there. In terms of that, have there been any players in SL football that you've worked with that kind of moved over from SL football to SL wrestling?
Oh yes, yes, yes. There's been quite a few players, or football players that have been in either Premier or Rise or other feds actually, that have been that was football players. And yeah, I think it's because it's skill based that, when you're a football player, and you have that skill, and then the movements, it helps too with the movements. When you're playing football, you kind of have to use your movements. You have to be quick on your movements. A lot of people as well that are gamers, I find, come into football as well because of the movements. But I find a lot of gamers actually come into wrestling too. So it's really quite parallel. So yeah, a lot of football players are wrestlers as well, and vice versa.
Heck yeah. What are some feds with that you've been involved with over the years since you came over from football to wrestling?
Well, I have to be honest. I've only been in maybe three. That is VAW, of course, which is where I started. NMW, when we moved over to NMW, and then back to VAW. And then when Vince came back to SL and he made Premiere, he had IM me and said, "Hey, we're making this Fed." And he knew I wasn't, well, I kind of was in a Fed. I was still with VAW, with the new owners, and I was kind of helping them out. But I said, "Hey, I don't know if I could do that." And he's like, "Well, they worked it out." And I came back, and I came back as management. And yeah, so it's basically been three Feds. Well, four now with Rise. I almost forgot about Rise.
With Rise, how did that kind of come about? What are kind of the origins of going from like doing Premiere and then moving into Rise?
Okay, well, what happened was, okay, so I was always in Premiere. And I was, I would wrestle on the shows and whatnot. I would commentate. And they have the premiere show, that's the house show, the traveling show that's unplugged. And Vince had put me into ahead of that to run that. And so I ran unplugged for a long time. And when Rise came about, when they made Rise, they actually asked me to come to Rise. And it was a really hard decision, because I was, unplugged was my home. And even though I know everybody in Premiere and everything, it was just hard. It was hard because I had done unplugged for so long. And it was I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional person, and I can't hold that back, even in SL. So I'm just going to say it was a very tearful goodbye, but I knew the person that I was putting in charge of it was going to do well. And I knew that Rise, was something more, something bigger, for me, not bigger than everything else. But and I knew it was going to be, as how do I want to put this? It was just something new, and it was a challenge that I wanted to try to go and get. And so I said, okay, I will try this. And it's not been easy. Running a Fed by no means is easy. So any Fed owners out there that are listening to this, kudos to you, because yeah, you guys are saints. And because it is not an easy thing, but you know what? It's a very rewarding thing. Very, very rewarding when you have a Fed that you can call your family. That's a very rewarding thing.
Exactly, exactly. There's a lot that kind of goes into the operations of a Fed that you don't really think about when you're kind of on the more of a showrunner level. That there's so many additional tiny minutia that you have to contend with, and anybody that chooses to go up to that level and kind of take all of that on, it's just incredible. Uh, in terms of in terms of speaking about people that Like kind of speaking about other people, can you think of or can you think of some people throughout your time in wrestling that kind of stood out to you over the years?
Oh boy. Well, I'm gonna say this. Vince Aftermath has helped me a lot in everything that I've done in wrestling in general. Um, he's taught me a lot. He's taught me a lot. Even now that I run Rise, he pretty much says, "Hey, yeah, go ahead, run with it." But I still go back to him and I say, "Hey, Vince, I think what about this? What about that?" And we could sit down and we could talk one on one, and he could sit there and tell me, "No, I don't think so," or "Yeah, that's great," and I take his advice. To heart because he's been in SL wrestling for so long. um, Trey is another one. I don't get to talk to Trey as often, but when I do get to talk to Trey, we have nice long conversations, and he gives me his opinions and stuff. But I'm just glad that they're both happy with what is going on with Rise, because we are all very happy with how Rise is going right now. So that's all I'm glad about. But yeah, definitely Vince and Trey have been two of the top people in that have helped me in SL wrestling.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. What stands out to you when it comes to Rise? And I guess to another extent, what kind of stands out to you with Premier Wrestling?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, hmm, wow, that is a good question. Premier Wrestling is always pushing the gauntlet, I guess you want to say. They're always striving for more. They're always looking for more. I love that Premier and Rise are very heavy into charities, not just the American Cancer Society, but any kind of charities that's out there. And whenever we have a charity show and we ask either of the rosters, "Hey guys, we have this charity show," people are just like, "Yeah, we'll sign up, we'll sign up, we'll sign up." And we do such great shows. Premier and Rise have made so much money for charities and stuff like that. We're really, really proud of that. We're really proud of that. I love that we're not just going out there and doing shows. We're helping the community. We're teaching people. We even say to people, if you're new in SL, come on in, we'll help you out. We'll help you to get your avatar together. We'll help you to learn SL. We don't say, if you're only a day old, don't come because you don't know how to do things in SL. We'll help you. We'll teach you. But yeah, I think it's because we're community based. We're more we try to help the community and do things for the community.
Heck yeah, and that is always awesome to hear and awesome to see. Uh, where do you see Premiere/Rise in the future? Like in like maybe a few years from now, 10 years from now, what have you?
Well, I hope we're still here. I think we will be. We're always growing, as every Fed is. It's not just Premier and Rise. Every Fed grows. Every Fed has their ebbs and their flows. But I hope that Premier and Rise is growing. I hope that we're doing different and more innovative things. We're always looking. Premier is always looking for things to do, things to put us out there, so to speak. And there's some things that we've looked into that we've got done. Some things, was like, oh, I don't really think we could do that. But you know what? We'll work on it. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week, but maybe next year it'll happen. So we're always striving to get to that next level, to do something that we know we could do, but maybe it might take a little while to get there. So I just think as far as in a few years, I just hope that we're doing some more innovative things with Premiere and Rise.
Awesome, awesome. So far, what have been some of the most memorable moments for you in Rise's history?
Oh wow. There's been quite a few. Well, probably, I know this is probably corny, but our first show, I mean, our very first show was probably one of the most memorable because, everything came together. Everything came together. The whole roster came together. The management came together. That was when we said, "Hey, yeah, now we've got it. We have a Fed here." It was a great show back then, action packed, and we just tried to build on that, for the next couple tours. And hopefully we've done that. Every tour we strive to make it better than the last. And I know, everybody does that. Hey, we're gonna go better. We're gonna go bigger. And probably the other one is when we actually have had our own arena, which was really great. We have a really great arena, and everybody had a lot of compliments about it. Hey, this is a great arena, and now we have a home, so that's a great thing too. But yeah, those are probably my two memorable moments. The first ones, of course, every show is memorable. Every finale is memorable because we always strive to do, something that nobody expects, something that'll go, wow, Rise really did that. Yeah.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. What would you say is your Fed's approach to booking? Like, how do you plot out the course for where everybody goes?
Okay, well, see, I can't speak for other Feds. I don't know how other Feds do it, but I think we do our bookings and things a little bit different because and like I said, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know, but we actually allow the wrestlers and the roster to get into it. So if they have any ideas on, how they would like their characters to go or anything like that, we listen to them. We have a whole creative team, and, they work with the wrestlers. So when we do, different bookings and things like that, it's the wrestlers also help. So it gives a overall good vibe, I guess. I guess those aren't the words I'm looking for, but everybody seems to be happy because they kind of get a little bit of an insight into what's going to happen. But we do have our creative team that does do the bookings and stuff. And like I said, we do let the wrestlers also have insights into what's going to happen with them and things like that.
What are some challenges that you and your team face when creating compelling storylines for your Fed?
Making everybody happy.
I hear that.
No, I mean, seriously though, sometimes we have an idea and it's like they're like, I don't really know if that's how I want my character to go. So we do try to work with them. But and another thing is really just trying to get something fresh and innovative because there are so many wrestling federations in SL and so many creative teams in these wrestling feds that some of these matches are out of this world, and it's just trying to find new and creative things to do so that we're not recycling ours or other people's different kind of storylines or matches and stuff. So I think the hardest part is just trying to get really, really creative and go out of that box, out of that comfort zone, but yet kind of stay in so that everybody's like, yeah, that can't happen. We try to keep it realistic, but try to push the gauntlet on, how far we can go without it being like, not really realistic. So yeah, I guess it's a creative aspect of just trying to find new and innovative things.
You had mentioned before, kind of one of the challenges is keeping everybody happy. How do you foster a positive and productive work environment for your team and your wrestlers?
Like I said, we try to work with the wrestlers. I have a great management team right now in Rise, and each of my management heads has their own little team, but we try to work with the wrestlers. So instead of, how do I want to say this? Our management is management, And obviously the management is over, the roster, but we don't want to be up like on a pedestal looking down at everybody. We try to be equal to them and say, okay, hey, this is what we're doing. What are you unhappy about? Here's your storyline, or here's your character. What would make you happy? How would you like to change it? We try to work with them. I mean, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. I'm going to be honest. If somebody is coming in and they want to, have their character something like somebody's that's already there, of course you can't do that, So we try to work with them. We try to make them happy. But, I think it's just the interaction between the management and the roster that, fosters that.
kind of that mood and that.
Yes.
Can you share an example of a time when you had to make one of those tough calls, one of those tough decisions that significantly impacted your Fed?
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, not everybody is going to like everything you do. Whether you're management or whether you're over everybody, nobody is going to like whatever you want to do. And, sometimes you have to make those hard decisions. It may be, bringing somebody into the Fed or something that you think may be an asset, but maybe other people, for whatever their reasons are, doesn't want to work with them. We all have people we don't want to work with. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is going to get along with everybody else. It's just not going to happen. But sometimes you have to sit there and you have to step into that manager hat, or that president hat. Like I always used to say in football, sometimes I'm a player, sometimes I'm the owner. So sometimes I have to put that president hat on and say, you know what? Now I have to think about what's good for the Fed. I have to think about what's good for what is going to be best for us as Rise. And, those are those hard decisions that you have to make. And some of them are really very hard because you're looking at both sides and both sides have points, and you just have to say, okay, once I make this decision, this is going to impact the Federation, for a while to come. And we just got to hope that when we make decisions, we make the right ones for everybody. Not everybody's going to be happy about it, but hopefully even if they're not happy, they'll understand why it was done.
Do you have any tips for new Fed owners on building and maintaining a fan base and a roster?
Well, I mean, all I could say is in Rise, like I said, I was in Unplugged, and in Unplugged, Unplugged was very open. It was very, you could do things in Unplugged that maybe Premier's overloader attitude would have said, no, I don't think that, we should do that. But in Unplugged, we did things that, I don't think people's ever seen in Premiere. Some have, some haven't. I mean, when you jump off the building onto somebody, that's something you're not going to see too often. But, people liked it. People liked that they got to come to Overload because it was, basically anybody could come in to Overload and anybody could wrestle in Overload. And they liked the fact they can come in and say, hey, I've got this idea for a match. Can we do that? And I'd say, well, let me hear it. And they tell me it. And if it was, feasible, I would say, sure, why not? Let's do it. I kind of try to do that with Rise. Obviously, we don't jump off the buildings in Rise, but, we've done some very memorable things in Rise. And again, like I said, we try to push the gauntlet of what we could do. I'm very pro-realistic. And obviously SL is very hard, to be realistic, but, there's certain things that we do say that, okay, in other words, if somebody ever jumped off a building and landed on somebody, yeah, they're going to be hurting for a long, long time. Obviously in SL, we aren't. So I think the fans, know that, some of these things will never actually ever happen in real life, but a lot of the things we try to. So sorry, I got off on a tangent, but what I try to do in Rise is, like I said before, I try to let the wrestlers and even the commentators and even the referees or whatever, I let them try to get, their own personalities into things, and I let them bring their personalities into their matches. So, if it's not crazy, go for it. And if, of course, I am not, I'm not it. My head of creative, they have, my bookers, they have the last say, but a lot of times they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, so and so wants to do this, is that okay? And normally we say yeah, because I think just fostering that communication between management and roster, and kind of having someplace open where they can bring their ideas and bring their creativeness, I think is what helps. And I know we have gotten some people that have come to Rise because they heard, hey, look at what Rise is doing over there. And, they kind of let you have a voice. And don't get me wrong, please, Fed owners, don't IM me. But I'm not saying that other Feds don't do that, because, as I'm going to say, I don't normally go to other Feds. And I know that's a terrible thing to say. I don't normally watch other Feds. I don't know what other Feds do. So, I mean, I'm sure other Feds also, do things like that. But I'm just talking about Rise and what I do. And yeah, we kind of let our wrestlers be creative and push their own paths within reason, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. What would you say is some of the things that you love most about Second Life Wrestling?
Oh, okay. Well, I love to wrestle. I absolutely love to wrestle. And when you have a great character that you love to wrestle on, it's even better. And I love the characters that I wrestle on. So, and I love being, in SL Wrestling. I don't think I would have been in SL Wrestling 10 plus years if I didn't. But yeah, I love everything about it. I just love that, people are excited. Like, people actually are excited to come and watch wrestling. And I love, and I hate to bring Rise back into this, but I know Rise, especially in Rise, we try to interact with the crowds, and whether it be the commentators or the wrestlers themselves. And I love to see and hear the people, like when they're talking, and the commentators will say something back, and they'll talk to the fans. I love that interaction. And I just love to watch people, because, you see somebody come into the Fed brand new, never ever wrestled in their life. And maybe about 6 months later, these guys and girls are just, tearing up the ring. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, and they're enjoying it. They're loving it. They're excited about it. Like, I have a rookie right now that's coming in, and this guy is so excited that he does 100 rope shoots a day just to practice. That is what I love to see, the excitement of it, and new people coming in. And every new people come in Feds every day. Some people, they leave, it's just not for them. Sometimes they come in and they're brand new to SL, and SL isn't for them, and that's okay. But you know what? Those people that come in and they're like excited like that, and you get to see them from not knowing anything, not even knowing how to do a ring in, to being able to do, flying lariats and doing tag teams and tag team moves and just different things. It's really exciting. And I think that's what I love about SL Wrestling, is just watching everybody grow, and how everybody gets the excitement out of what they do.
Heck yeah. Seeing like the burning passion in everybody's hearts for it.
Yes.
Do you have any predictions or hopes for the future of SL Wrestling?
Well, again, like I said with Premier, I hope SL Wrestling is around for a long, long time. I know there's a lot of Feds that have had longevity, and a lot of Feds, don't. They leave, or they change. But you know what? I hope that, SL Wrestling can get to more people in SL, because I know still, even though there's what, like 6, 7 wrestling feds, I'm not even sure how many there is now, there's still a lot of people out there that don't know about SL Wrestling. And I think that's the biggest thing I'd like to see. I'd like to see SL Wrestling really become something that everybody knows about. I know not everybody will know about it, but, and I know Rise in particular is very inclusive. It doesn't matter what gender, creed, color, nationality, if you have any disabilities, we work with you. And I'd love to see that happen, where anybody, regardless of, their skill level, can come into wrestling and be able to, be a superstar, as they say. But I'd love for SL Wrestling to be more accessible to people and more people to know. And, I know Premier is trying to do that. Premier is trying to get the word out. Rise is trying to get the word out. I know other feds are trying to get the word out. But I would love to see that, because I still get people that'll look at my profile and go, "You're a wrestler?" I'll say, "Yes, I am." And I've been a wrestler. And they're like, "I didn't even know wrestling was in SL." And, with as many feds as there is, it just sometimes it boggles my mind, even though SL is this big, huge world with, hundreds of thousands of people in it. It boggles my mind sometimes to think that people's never heard of it. So that's what I would like to see for the future of SL Wrestling. I would like to see more people join SL Wrestling, more people to get involved and passionate about SL Wrestling, and for SL Wrestling to be able to be more viewed, and more people know about it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, all things do have to end sometime. What legacy do you hope to leave as the owner of your Fed?
Well, I hope when I do step down that whoever steps up into my position, I hope that they step into a very successful Fed that has made their mark on SL, not only, in that everybody knows about Rise, but, with, like I said before, the community. I hope that Rise could be, a Fed where the community says, "Hey, they are there for the community. They're not just for wrestling. They're not just for themselves. They're for the community." And I hope that when I do step down, that we are in a better place. I mean, obviously we're in a good place, but you always want to get better. You always want to strive to be better, strive to be bigger, strive to do different things, like I said before.
Mhm.
But yeah, I hope that, I hope one day that, SL Wrestling could maybe, be sanctioned by Linden Labs. I mean, that would be the greatest thing ever, that, we could have some kind of a sim maybe. And Linden Labs, are you listening? But maybe we can have some kind of a sim where we can have all the wrestling feds on, and, it could be like an SL Wrestling sim where, Linden Labs would, these are the Second Life wrestling feds. That would be great. Not only for Rise, but for all the wrestling feds and for SL Wrestling in general. But as far as Rise, in the future, I just hope that, when I do step down, that, I leave I hope I leave Rise better than I came into Rise, put it that way. That we're grown more, and we're bigger and we're better. But yeah, I just wish that SL Wrestling in general would be, more out there. And like I said, that would be great to have like an SL Wrestling sim. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Kind of a wrestle world, if you will.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think that is all the time that we have for the show today. Jasmine, thank you so much for coming in again and having this interview with us. Where can everybody find Rise? How can people watch Rise?
Okay, well, we are okay, so we are on the let's see. I don't even. Yeah, that's where we are. Um I almost forgot where we were. We are on GG Live Sim. There we go. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't do it. But we're also on Discord. We do have a Discord group, and we have all of our shows in the Discord group. Whenever we have a show, we also have sponsorships for anybody that would like to sponsor themselves or sponsor Rise, I should say. And we also take Rise on the road. So if anybody would like to have a show, have Rise come to their show, it's an actual regular show, that's in our tour, and we just go to different seasons or go to different places. And so we are, but we are normally at GG Live, GGly Live, GIGLI Live. Like I said, we have a Discord, we have a Flickr, and you can also contact me at Jasmine Trice with the Y, TRYCE, and we have an in-world group, and I can get you in there as well. And we are going into tour number 9, and
Congratulations!
Yes.
Well, in terms of this, thank you once again. My name is CJV. You can find my Fed, Decibel Info Wrestling, over at Arius every other Thursday at 6 p.m. SLT. Thank you to Premiere for letting us do this little video podcast, whatever you want to call this. And until the next Ringmasters, we hope to see you next time. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.